is dead. Dead. Dead, dead, dead. Life will give you lessons. You know? Life will give you lessons. Hi, Halima. Hi, love. Today we are talking about keeping up with the spiritual life. Spiritual life is important. Do you know there is no possible way that you can go above in life, above your spiritual life? You always go at the level of your spiritual life. If it's weak, the life is weak. It's late for you. It's around 1 here. It's around 1:15. How was your day? What did you do that was fun? I'm healed. Can you see how healed? My nose is healed right now. Okay, that's not a burger. It's some stitches. I still have stitches on this nose. I wanted to come live for a minute, and talk about spiritual life. A lot of people don't have a spiritual life. Even a lot of religious people, they don't have a spiritual life. They think they are religious, but they don't have a spiritual life, because a spiritual life is something very close to you. It's something very, very intimate with yourself. And that's why sometimes I find that some of the Eastern meditation like practices, they are better able to help somebody start a spiritual life. Hi, miracle. They don't even say things and say things and say about the to be around the kind of work that they take, the kind of food that they eat, the kind of how they interact with people, the kind of messages that they want to hear on an everyday basis. When it comes to did I just freeze again? Let me know if you can still hear me, or if I'm still frozen. When it comes to spiritual life, you have got to be very, very intentional with what is happening in your life. Because if you say that you love God and you pray and you do not take any intentional steps towards other areas of your life, one area in your life can come tumbling down, and it can bring you down with it. For example, let's say somebody says, okay, they are spiritual or they are Christians, but they sleep around, right? Let's say you get a disease. Now you have the body, the sacredness of the body. Maybe now the body gets sick. And when you start getting sick, obviously health is number one. That means that you have done something to destabilize your health, because you're not intentional. You're not spiritual. You cannot rise above your values, above your morals, above, your life cannot rise above like what you think you are. A good case, right? Look at our we have this Kenyan president. Okay, this Kenyan president, even before he became president, he had been accused of gross human rights violations, like killing of people, stealing everything. But you know what? Kenyans still selected him for president. They still selected him for president. Now Kenyans, I don't, if you haven't watched the news about Kenya, now Kenya is in a very, very bad state financially, politically. Somebody threw a shoe on the president the other day, because now they selected him. Even if they knew that this wasn't a good person morally and spiritually, they still gave him a lot of power. But what does such a bad person do? He makes things extremely worse for everybody. And why do people select such kind of a person? Because they themselves in the beginning, they are also not well spiritually adjusted. That's why you find that people who are terrible, they will choose terrible leaders, and then they will make, those leaders will make the country or the place terrible. And that's what happened to Kenya. And now you find that you cannot rise, even as a group, as a people, y'all cannot rise above your morals and your standards and your values. And spirituality is the hate. As human beings, we use spirituality is where we go to heal, and is where we go to get better values, and it's where we go to find our path, who we are. And if you find all over the world, you will find people using spirituality to help them in their daily lives. Why is it that everybody, everywhere around the world, every culture that has survived on this planet used spirituality as a way of getting them ahead, as a way of helping them ascend and survive throughout time? Every culture has used spirituality. That means if you are not having a spiritual life, an intentional spiritual life, most likely life is going to crush you completely. Life is going to crush you. And when it comes to spirituality, the things that you're supposed to do in spirituality, these are not suggestions. These are not things like, oh, we are suggesting that you do, maybe you don't do. Spirituality is not a suggestion. Oh my goodness, I love to see you, Eric. Nice to see you again. Yeah, spirituality is not a suggestion. High street shot, those are things that you must do. For example, I find a lot of Christians whose life is not going well, and they haven't figured out that being a fake Christian and not really following the voice of God is what is doing them in. They have no clue that their disobedience is what is ruining their finances, their marriages, their social life, their health. They have no idea that them being hard-headed is ruining their lives. Christians who drink alcohol. Let me tell you, even Muslims know from their spiritual books that alcohol is bad, terrible, right? And it's not just Muslims who understand this. Go to neuroscientists. Neuroscience. Every neuroscientist will tell you alcohol is bad for you. But guess what? Alcohol is very popular in America, especially because it's everywhere, right? So you meet Christians who are drinking and they don't figure out what's wrong with them and why they're not doing as good in life as the other one. Guess what? Because every time you drink, you go down like this. Your body, your health goes down, takes a dive. By the time you recover, you drink again, you go down. And then by the time you drink again, you're recovering, you're doing well, boom, you dip down, you dip again. Now somebody who is not drinking, right? They're here, they drink water, they get better, and they exercise, they get better. So by the time that your highest point is here when you're not drinking, somebody else's highest point is here because they drink water. Because they drink water. And they pray and they do all these things and they exercise. And this is what I keep trying to say. You know, obedience is good. It's kind of like you go to your doctor and your doctor is telling you, oh, take this medication, you're going to feel better. but then you're disobedient, and then you take medication, and then you don't, and then you don't take medication, and then you don't feel good, and then you wonder, why am I not feeling well? Why am I not feeling well? Because the doctor recommended medication, and you did not take medication, and then you wind up not feeling well. It's the same as spirituality. There are things you must not do so that you have a clear conscience, so that you stay happy and fruitful and joyful. But if you decide that that doesn't work for you, guess what? You're gonna get sick. You're gonna get sick. And you people who are hard-headed, maybe you come from a childhood trauma, you have your own traumas, you have your own pains, you're angry with God, you're angry with everybody. The word of God is trying to get you out of that terrible place that you are in. You know, this is what I realized myself coming from childhood trauma. Everything that God was telling me in that book was to help me with my life and my journey, because he knew that I will have a lot of challenges, especially not growing up with my parents. He knew that I would have a lot of challenges growing up, and that is why he had the word for me right there and good eyes, so that I can read for myself, so that I can see the importance of obedience. And I can tell you, that book has blessed my life. And I keep telling everybody who has childhood trauma, everybody who wants to heal, please listen to me, because I know what I'm telling you firsthand. I have been through this life. I have been through this life, and I grew up, and I left my parents left me when I was 6 years old. I can't lie to you. I can't lie to you. I only am here because God blessed me. I am alive because God blessed me. I have energy today just because of God's love and his mercies. I can tell you that. And because I also tried to obey as much as I could. And it doesn't mean that I've always been obedient. There are times that I have strayed away a little bit. And those times that I have strayed away, they cost me more than I'll ever know. They will cost me more than I'll ever know. I am so happy that I accepted Christ at a very young age in my life. That I am so blessed that I accepted Jesus Christ as my personal savior when I was a very little girl, because there is this verse that says that Christ, and it sticks with me. I don't want to cry, but sometimes I feel like crying. It sticks with me because this verse, I can't help it today. Those tears are coming out. Even if I'm not trying to, I'm trying to block them. I don't think I can block them right now. Those tears are coming out today. You know, I can't help it. Those tears, man. Those tears are coming out today. So this is what I am trying to say. That I accepted Christ at a very young age. At a very young age as a girl, when I was in an orphanage, right? And there is this verse in the Bible that says that he will go to the ends of the earth. That Christ will go to the ends of the earth to get that one sheep that has strayed away, right? He says that he'll go to the ends of the earth to get that one sheep, just that one that has strayed away, and he will bring it back to the fold. And I remember when I was at my very worst time in my life, and I was like, God doesn't love me at all. I was like, if he exists and if he is there, and this is what I was telling myself, if God exists and if he is there, you know, why would he want me to grow up without my parents? Why would he want me to go through life not feeling loved and cared for and all these things, like all these emotional things, right? And it was, I think, out of that anger and bitterness that, and also misunderstanding of the gospel, because I can say like 100%, like I was misunderstanding the gospel. But it's okay because I was young and I didn't have understanding, because I didn't think, I was looking at life in a different way. I was looking at life in a way that God should make me not go through pain. God should make me not go through any kind of difficulty, because, I prayed then. Then I prayed, then obviously, because I prayed and I asked for his protection, then I was like, why would he not answer? Why would he not let me go through difficult things? But then I realized I was not being realistic. I was not being realistic. You see, life is the way, this planet, life is the way it is. This planet, life is going to be difficult sometimes. It is just the way things are. There is sickness in this life, there is death, and the Bible does not lie about it. It tells you there is a time for everything. There is a time for birth and there is a time for death. There is a time to harvest and then there is a time to plant. There is a time to get the rewards of everything that you have worked for. And then, there is a time to sow, and then there is a time to reap what you sow. So I didn't understand that the Bible was just giving me a manual and instructions on how I should live my life if I want to sow things and see rewards, that I must go through the hard work that it takes to get my own, the patience that it takes for me to get my own. I had not understood that. I was still young. I had not understood that. I had not understood that if I followed those instructions, I was going to get to the promised land. That God is faithful, that if I was obedient, He was going to deliver me from all the evil that had happened. That if I just followed Him and I followed the instructions, the commandments, and I stayed obedient, He was going to deliver me, because He is faithful. He is faithful. But you see, God will always hold His side of the coin. He will always hold His other side of the bargain. Now, are you going to hold your side of the bargain with obedience? Because here is the thing. Let's say God has blessings and He has them here, right? He has them in this little pouch here. Let's say these are God's blessings over your life, your family, your health, your money, your ability to build things and prosper. Let's say these are your blessings and they are inside here. The way you unlock those blessings is through obedience. Obedience is the key. Obedience is the key that unlocks every blessing you have. I don't know if you know this, but it's true. Let's say God has all your entire blessings in this one little envelope. It's obedience. It's obedience that actually opens up that blessings. Hi, Bruce. Nice to see you. How's Arizona? Is it hot in Arizona? Let us know. I think, Bruce, you said you're in Arizona. You or Eric, one of you guys. I think Eric said he was in San Diego. But you see, you can never know what was inside God's blessings for you if you are not obedient. If you are not obedient. And I think a lot of people regret when they figure out this very, very late in their life, that God could have actually blessed you with that house. God would have actually given you that wife. God would have given you everything, but you failed to be obedient. You failed to be obedient. People want a happy family, but they're out there cheating on their spouses. And the word of God is clear: do not commit adultery. And you want that happy home, but you're out there sabotaging that dream because you don't love yourself. You don't want happiness. And then you start admiring other people's who have their own families, their beautiful relationships. You could have had yours, but you don't wanna. You don't wanna keep what God gives you. You know, these are the things that, you know, most people take time to understand in life. That God's justice is rooted in his holiness and his wonderfulness. So he's not going to give you a good, beautiful, lovely wife when he knows that you don't love women and you cheat on them, you beat them. You know, if you're beating your wife, she's not gonna be happy. And you're not gonna be happy. That is why the greatest commandment is love, because it's love that protects you. It is love, you know, that brings you good things in life. That is how it is. That is how it is. God's justice is rooted in his holiness. When am I coming to Arizona? Arizona in the heat. Woi. In this heat, coming summer. Arizona, you can only go in the winter. I've been to Arizona once in my life, and I drove from here to Phoenix. I got lost a little bit because I ended up in Victorville. I don't know, my GPS wasn't very good, but I got so exhausted when I got to Phoenix. And then my friend came to pick me up, and she told me, oh, just follow my car. And I lost her car. And I was like, where's this girl? And my battery wasn't working. Oh my goodness. That time, we stayed indoors all the time. I don't know how you guys do with the heat. I don't know. I hate this place that I live in the summer. I'm already thinking if I want to be somewhere else in the summer, because this house is burning hot in the summer. It's burning hot. Anyway, God's justice, like when we think why our life is not working the way it is, let me tell you, always think about, what am I doing spiritually wrong? Because the answers are there in your spirituality. If something is not happening, you are out of spiritual alignment for whatever is not happening in your life. There has to be something that you're misaligned about in your life. And that's why we pray. Thanks, Bruce. It's so nice to hear kind words. Yeah. But Phoenix, I was surprised at how huge Phoenix is. Phoenix is a huge city. And then there's so many Kenyans also in Phoenix. I had a good time. I really did have a good time, especially because in the evenings, Kenyans like going out to eat, to have fun. I was like, wow. So I no longer go out to drink. That life for me is dead to me. There is nothing there. There's a life that I just kind of, for myself, like I just decided, well, it's not for me. Other people can do it, it's not for me. I have seen that life, and I don't want it. There's nothing for me there. I can say that there's nothing for me there. But I am grateful for everything that, you know, God has shown me, that, you know, that actually we get angry. I saw this woman that, anyway, her son died, and she was in church when her son died. She was praying, and so after that, she stopped going to church after her son died, because she couldn't reconcile in her mind why God would not protect her son when he was when he was out and about because he got hit by a car, and she was in church praying. And so the people who realized that her son had died did not tell her directly. They told her, oh, come over, let's pray, let's pray. And then when they were praying, they started talking about if somebody died, so that to just let the topic come a little bit. And then until she felt like something was wrong. And then that's when they told her that her son had died. But before, they just made, they prayed and prayed and prayed. And I think if her son was going to die, right, then God chose the time that she would have a lot of spiritual support for her. Maybe she doesn't see it that way, but this is how I saw it. Because in life there is death, and there are things that we must go through, and there is life. And her son, however, you never know what time in this universe you're destined to die, but people die all the time. From car accidents, like in Kenya, people drive so terribly, so there's lots of people dying from car accidents. And her son died from a car accident. But guess what? Something in her spirit had led her to church, so that by the time she realizes that her son has died, she would have all these people supporting her spiritually, praying for her, people who would break down the news in a gentle way for her. And she doesn't see that God was protecting her. She couldn't see. For me, when I heard her telling her story, and I was listening to her, I was like, God is right there protecting you, even before you understand that he's protecting you from this sad news that you're going to receive. He's already there ahead of you. God had already gone ahead of her, and he knew that she was going to get this terrible news, and he had made sure that there are people surrounding her for spiritual support. He knew that. He knew that she was going to be so angry that there are times that she would not want to go to church or to talk to anybody, but still he sent people every week, every month to come and convince her, let's go to church, let's go pray. Because let me tell you, there is no greater pain in the world than a woman losing her child. There is no greater pain, because they said that they suddenly feel something empty in their womb. They just feel an emptiness coming straight for their womb. And that means a woman is so psychologically connected to her child, physically, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually. They are connected with their child. It's like when they get pregnant, they never, even after the baby is born, the body remembers that she is incubating a whole human being. And when that human being is out of this planet, that's when it sends signal to her womb that there is no more life. And so this womb never really dies, like the pregnancy never really dies as long as the child is alive on the planet. The woman will always feel like she is full, like there is a baby there, right? And when the baby dies immediately, the woman feels the emptiness completely, like she just lost a baby, and that baby could be 35 years old, 50, she will feel that whole thing collapse in her stomach like that. And so what Kenyan women do, they will take a lasso and they will tie it. They will make sure that the knot is so tight because of the sudden emptiness that this woman feels. So they tie her, they make sure they tie that lasso and knot completely. They make it tight for her because of the pain that they feel once they lose their child. So anyway, I get that woman. I get her story and how she felt that pain, and why she did not even want to understand why God can put her through that pain. But I also saw the hand of God, because God had made sure she was in church there was spiritual support for her. There was people who can come and sing, because those people did not even break the news to her that her child had died. They told her, let's worship, let's pray, let's kind of make sure that the presence of God is here, because there's no way this woman will take it well unless she feels that God is close to her, even in this like terrible time. And you tell me there are no blessings in living a spiritual life. There are some of the blessings that are there in a spiritual life, we don't even begin to understand the kind of blessings that there are in our spiritual life, because sometimes we think that it's material success. Sometimes it's your ability to sing to a God that can give you comfort and stop you from going through a downward spiral of depression. Sometimes that's where the blessing is in your life. Sometimes exactly that is only where the blessing is. And we are here expecting like big one, like you get a new car. You know, if you're thinking about getting a new car, a good house, maybe get married, you're in such a good place in your life that you are dreaming about having beautiful things happen in your life. You're in another state of blessing. There is somebody who is praying so that they can get well. You know, last week, all I was praying is I want to just get better and feel like more like myself. That's all I was praying for last week, because, you know, I had just had surgery and there's nothing much I can do than wait for my body to heal, right? So I wasn't thinking about fancy cars, about, you know, getting, I don't know, going on a vacation, or, you know, my best food to eat. You know, I had surgery. I could not eat with my mouth. I would have to use a straw to take anything that I needed for my body. And so when you're there out dreaming about life, remember that you're in another crowning at that point in your life of blessing, that you're not even thinking about problems. You know, kids always are there thinking about, oh, what they don't have. And for kids, they don't realize you don't have bills you're paying. You have a roof over your head. Somebody's going to feed you. Somebody has taken it upon themselves that it's their problem to figure out what you're going to eat, where you're going to sleep, all that. You don't have to worry about that. You know, young adults have to figure that for themselves, right? But they're also in good health. They you know, so you figure out that God gives you stages in your life when you will go through something. You will go through something. There is a time to give birth, and then there's a time to bury. But the time for you to give birth in your life is part of your journey, and the part of and the point where we die and we get buried, that's another part of our journey. But this is however you want to live your life. You can live your life like you don't have a spiritual life, but let me tell you, whether you decide to live a life, whether it's in a spiritual way or not a spiritual life, spirituality will still count in your life, because life is spiritual. So just because you decide, I don't care whether there is air or not, you are still going to need air to breathe, right? Whether you care about it or not. In the same way, the spiritual life is like that. Whether you choose to ignore it, it is still going to impact your life. And you want it to impact you positively. So the last thing you want in your life is to be on the other side of spirituality, because everybody tells you we have a shadow. There's a shadow personality, shadow, the shadow, this, shadow, that, right? Yeah, we do have a shadow in our life. Life is spiritual. There is light and there's darkness. And when you are not intentional about your spiritual life, the forces of darkness are going to win over your life. Just for you turning a blind eye on spirituality, your forces of darkness are going to take over. For example, just by not wanting to learn about your health, things that you should eat, your food, working out, drinking water, just by you turning a blind eye on that, it's going to cost you your health. Just like that. Because if you don't learn what you should eat or what should not eat, you're going to end up eating the wrong food. Sooner or later, you're going to start making those mistakes, and guess what? Your health is going to get impacted. Spirituality is no joke. You cannot live your life just like that. You have to be intentional. You've got to be intentional about your life. Life just doesn't happen to you. If life is just happening to you, it's because you don't have intention. You haven't realized that, oh, I need to think about, from the moment you go to sleep, did I sleep well? How did I wake up? Have I been joyful today? And if you're not a joyful person, chances are you don't sing to God. You don't sing to God because you think, like it's a big deal for you to sing to God. You sing to God for your protection. He's protecting you from depression. When God commands that you sing and praise and worship, is because that is where you help yourself from depression. Singing activates almost all parts of your brain. Singing and worshiping God activates every part of your brain. So if you want to think what God has in store for you, start worshiping and praising Him, and then start seeing what that will do to your brain. That will do to your brain. See, people in science, they don't want to tell you this, even though they have studied the human brain, and they know that the human brain responds to God. They know it. They know what the brain does when you sing to God. They know what it does to your health when you dance for God and you keep that elevated mood and spirit. You fight the demonic spirits of depression in your life. You do. You vibrate at a higher energy. That's why you're able to attract material wealth and success. Just by singing alone, you vibrate at a higher frequency. Instead of these low level vibrations that keep people in poverty, you elevate. That's how you elevate. They will not tell you this, but it will elevate you. But you can also sing for the devil. And the devil can elevate you, but the devil is nobody's friend because he's a backstabber. The devil will eventually stab you in the back. Believe me, he will. Look at what's happening to people like Diddy. What happened to Diddy? Yes, he was singing, right? But he was singing for the wrong camp. He was singing for the devil. Now he's going to jail. Look at what happened to Justin Bieber. He was singing, he was making money, but he was doing it with the wrong people like Diddy, who ended up assaying him and doing nasty things to him because he wanted that wealth, fame, and material success. The devil will stab you in the back. The devil is not your friend. He will not bring you money and good mental health. He will not. And even if he gives you money, he will not spare your children too. The devil will stab you in the back. That is what the devil does. He is a backstabber. He will stab you in the back. Look at all these musicians. Do you know why they die so early from drug overdose? Have you seen them die early from drug overdose? Because you can either serve either one of these two kingdoms in this planet. You either serve the kingdom of darkness, which is what is Hollywood is doing. That Hollywood is the capital of Satan. Hollywood is the capital of Satan. You can either serve the devil or serve God, but you cannot do both. You cannot do both. You cannot do both. But the devil is going to trick you. He is going to trick you. He is going to to train you, he's going to tell people like they are going to give you material wealth and material success. Look at Halle Berry. She went to the gala and she was wearing a dress with all her crotch outside for the whole world to see, even her children and everybody. The devil will embarrass you. The devil will embarrass you. The devil will not respect you. God respects you. God respects you. And that because of his respect, that is why he tells you what to do and what not to do, because he wants to protect you. People say, oh, why does God have to tell me to do this? Because he is God. Simple. Simple. Because he is God, he can tell you shit. Like, don't do this and don't do that. Because if you do this, you're going to end up dead. And if you do this, you're going to hate yourself. And if you do this, you're going to end up depressed. And if you do this, you're going to want to kill yourself. So don't do it. He is God. And he is good. And he is holy and loving and kind. That's why he tells you the truth. But guess what? The devil doesn't have time for you. Okay? The devil doesn't have time to you to school you or to educate you. He tells you do what you want, what makes you happy. Okay? Take alcohol. It'll make you happy. Smoke a little weed. Right? It'll make you happy. But by the end of it all, you're going to pay for it. He won't tell you that you're going to pay for it. Nope. The devil is not anybody's friend. He is calculated. He is calculated. The devil is in everything too. He's into the little drugs that you take. He is in your little friends that you make that are nasty. He is in your emotions, the greed, the shame, the guilt. He dwells in this. His job is to destroy humans. And you guys, you still keep ignoring the Bible because you think that you do not live in a spiritual universe. Guess what? You need to pay more attention. Because this is not the time or the place to be spiritually ignorant. Especially if you're living in North America. This is not the place, the time, the place to be spiritually ignorant and think that you can get away with it. You will get destroyed by people here. They will destroy you if you're not careful. Not here in America. I come from Kenya and Kenya is just as bad. If you are not very spiritually woke here in Kenya, you will get destroyed. You will get destroyed completely. I can tell you this. Because in Kenya, there are so many drugs that are readily available. You just need to know the right person and they can bring you drugs almost every time because they're out there to destroy your life with drugs. People don't live long when they start doing drugs. Okay, now you grow up in a place like Kenya when you can start drinking at 18 years old. Kids can start drinking at 18 in Kenya. 18, they're going out to clubs. They're going out to clubs and drinking and dancing, and most women get raped in those clubs. Yes. The devil is not your friend. The devil is not going to tell you that life. If you start on with that life, you're eventually going to get essayed by somebody. You're going to have to fight somebody. You might end up in a jail somewhere, or you might end up in a ditch somewhere. Obviously, the devil can't tell you that. He's just going to tell you, oh, there's going to be some music, you're going to dance, there's going to be alcohol. He's not going to tell you that. He's not going to tell you that at some point you're going to drink too much, you might lose your mind, you might end up in a place that you didn't want to. The devil has no time to explain shit to you. God has time to explain shit to you. God has time to tell you, do not be a drunkard, you fool. Okay? Because he is good. And when you start to recognize the voice of God in your life, He talks to you. He talks to you. You know, sometimes when I was spiritually dead, I would say spiritually dead, okay? I would walk into a room. I'm walked into a room and I looked at that room and I'm seeing the art, and the art is disturbing because the art looks like, you know, like this person invited me. He's saying he's a doctor and he invited me to come to see his clinic, and I'm there and I was like, I'm a homeopath. He's like, I'm a homeopath. And I walk into that room and the first image, it was a sexual image, right? And I'm like, what the fuck? What kind of a photo is this to put before clients? And I already started feeling uneasy, you know, like, what is this place, right? Uneasy, and my whole nervous system is giving me alarm bells. Get out of there, get out of there, get out of there, right? But what was I doing? Ignoring it completely. I was just like it's like I don't even know how else God had to talk to me at that point for me to understand, because I was deaf. I was spiritually deaf, right? Because I'm seeing it with my eyes, but I am not understanding, right? And I am looking at my body and it's reacting and it's talking to me. The Spirit of God inside of me is screaming, get out of here. Can't you see the signs already? You know? And I was getting. And then I came later. I wasn't a real doctor. I think this was a ruse that he was using to try to get girls to come to that place. And so maybe he can essay them, or he can use them to give him money, stuff, right? And now I look back and I was like, my God, I was spiritually deaf. Okay, there are places that I have, obviously when I realized that, I was out, but there are places that you go and you take a minute before you realize that that's the devil. That's the devil. Another time, somebody invited me to LA. Like one of my girlfriends that I had known for a long time. She's like, okay, let's go to LA. And she was like, oh, there'll be a party. It's like a pool party. Let's go. And I was like, okay, fine. I was so happy. I was like, okay, I haven't been to LA for a long time. People actually don't invite me to their places. So I was like, I was excited to go meet people. So we go there and it's a party. People are smoking weed, and I was smoking weed at that time, so it wasn't a big deal. But I'm sitting there, and you know, the first day, that was the first time, and I saw some girls. Then girls started coming into this place. A lot of girls started coming in, and they were taking videos of themselves. They were doing makeup, and I was like, okay, these are girls. It's a party. They're just having fun, right? In my mind, I'm not thinking about anything of this party, and we have a good time, and then we go home. And I was like, oh, that was fun. You know, I met some people. We talked. People were talking, blah blah blah, and I was like, okay, fine. We're interacting. We're having a good time. And then she invited me again. So this time I kind of, because I wasn't that new, I started like kind of seeing things and kind of now comprehending them. And this time I was like, I had brought in my swimming costume because I was like, oh, they have a party, they have a pool, I could actually swim, and I love swimming. So I'm out there, I'm swimming, I'm having a good time. And you know, they started, one guy whose house it was his house, he started showing us videos, and I'm looking at these videos and I'm like, oh, these girls are naked. Why he's taking these videos? Like what? And then he started saying it was his job, and I'm like, what job are you into? Like, what kind of a job is this? And then she was like, oh, these are my clients. This girl wanted to do this video for her husband, so he was kind of making like a sexy video for this girl for her husband. And I was like, oh, that sounds nice. You know, I was like, oh, this is so good. This is so nice. And I was like, oh, that's nice. And then as so I take a shower because I'm done swimming, and then I go sit down with the rest of the girls, and we are drinking. Like, I wasn't drinking alcohol, but I was eating whatever was being munched there, and I was listening to people. And then this guy came in. He was a doctor, and he was like, oh, he's looking for a girlfriend, but he's married. And I was like, what the fuck? And you're out here telling everybody. you know I was like, what just got up? Like, what's happening? I came here and people are just open about their clandestine life. I was like, he's out here looking for a girlfriend, whatever. And then this guy came in and he was like, oh, I saw you swimming. You had a beautiful body. And he was like, oh, I think you can be a model. I can take photos of you and I can put it on a site. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm not a model. I just came to this party. I'm not a model. And then I was like, so when I was going back to my friend, like when we were going home, I was like, I was so I just happened to tell her that, I was so annoyed that this guy, was telling me like he would take photos of me and put it in a site. And I was like, I was like, no, and then I was like, I don't want to do that. I'm not a model. And she was like, oh, that's a nice way to put it. And when she said that was a nice way to put it, I was like, huh, what a curious thing to say. Like my mind, I was like, oh, what a thing to say. Like, and I was like, she said, what a nice way to put it. And I was like, how else am I supposed to put it? They wanted models and I'm not a model. But when I came home and I started think about it, and I never went back ever again. Then I was like, okay. And I think the moment I told her that I'm not a model, she stopped talking to me in anyway. I think that's when that's when she stopped talking to me. But then I came in and I thought, oh, that wasn't just a party. That was not just a regular party. That was a party where they bring in girls so that they can groom them into this life of darkness. Let me tell you, you can go into places and you, as a Christian, you have to keep your eyes open, your ears open, right? And you see the small signs of the devil, you walk away. Don't even wait to know what they do there, how they do it. It was those little signs when somebody tells you that he's a doctor and he's there and he's looking for a girlfriend. That's the sign for you as a Christian to tell you that this place is not of God. This place, and when places are not of God, they always lead you to a wrong path. And that's when I realized, yeah, this wasn't my friend. She was trying to sell me to the devil. She was trying to sell me to the devil so that I can be one of those girls that they take photos of and they put it on some dark web somewhere and profit from it. Do not let the devil use you. He will use you and destroy you. He doesn't spare anybody. He does not spare anybody. That's when I realized, hey. Huh? This is not the life you joke with. This is not the lifestyle you play around with. Here in LA, if you don't have spiritual eyes, if you're blind, the devil will take advantage of you. This is not the place to be spiritually blind. It's not the place. It is not the place. There is a lot of spiritual wickedness out here in these streets. A lot of it. Don't fall for it. Don't fall for it. Because the moment you fall out of your spiritual alignment, that's when you start having bad mental health. Wickedness starts to come into your life. And you may have had a life where, as a child, you don't choose to be born into families. Some families, they're not spiritual. They're not strong in faith. You don't have a choice when you're born in those families where people drink, where, people molest their children, where people beat up their children like there's no tomorrow. Sometimes you don't have the choice about the family that you're in. And that is why you have the gospel, to lead you out of that kind of environment, to take you to another spiritual realm. That is why God is here on this planet, is to help you, because not every family is going to be obedient about Christ. Not every family is going to be spiritual. I don't even know how, I was raised a Christian with Christian values. And I don't even know how I would raise my kid outside that value system. How? On this planet. You still have to give them a moral compass. If something happened to me and I had children, I would want them to be Christians. Like my mom died, but my mom had led me to church. Even before she died, I was a Christian. So when my mom died, I was in God's hands fair and square. When my mom died, and because she was the last parent that died, I was left in God's hands like that. Because I knew God. I knew God. I was safely in his arms. And that's why I believe that God is going to bless my entire life. My entire life, from generations to generations to generations. He will bless me because he's the one who's been taking care of me. It's been God. I don't even know how my life would have turned out if it wasn't for God. And you see God's what do you call it? Faithfulness. You see God's faithfulness when you start obeying him, when you start listening to his voice, when you start observing things. You will see his faithfulness. He will deliver you from that evil. He will show you this is evil. Run away. Run away. He's done it so many times for me. So many times for me. And if I was only more seriously, I now regret that if I was only a little bit more understanding. If only I had a little bit more understanding about God, he could have done even way much more in my life, but I was blocking him and blocking him and blocking him. It's like he's like, I want you to go here, girl, but I'm like, no, I don't want to be there. I want to bless you like this. No. I was kind of like that. And now that I see it, I'm like, oh my goodness, girl, I wish I wasn't that stubborn. I just led through obedience, but some of us are obstinate and stubborn. But let me tell you, the truth is every mouth shall confess that Jesus Christ is God. That one I know and I can witness that Christ is God, and every knee shall bow. I know that for a fact. Every knee shall bow and every mouth will have to confess at one point that Christ is God, that Jesus Christ is Lord. And there was a time where I doubted God because I was raised a Christian, but my understanding could not allow me to see the wisdom of God. And I was like, maybe there's no God. Because, no matter how much you want to try to convince somebody who doesn't know that there is God, somebody who is like a scientist trying to look for evidence of an actual being that is here seated on a big throne, and they're trying to see that big throne of God, and they're sitting there and they're waiting to see that image. or they want that evidence. They will not see that evidence in that way, because understanding is so different from seeing with your own eyes. And that understanding is God. The whole understanding of life you place in the universe where God is, that understanding, that is God. So anyway, I hope you get blessed by this message, and we're going to talk about more later and other things that we need to do. But I am so happy that you guys liked this video, and that you always share, like, subscribe, and until next time, God bless you.